Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're tackling something that is absolutely crucial, but honestly, it's kind of overlooked a lot of the time. We're talking about protecting two lives on the road, both mom and baby. We've pulled together the latest medical research, trauma guidelines, and safety data to give you a really practical guide. If you're expecting, or you know someone who is, this is quite literally life-saving info. So let's get into it.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the reality of pregnancy trauma. Second, we're going to debunk the minor injury myth. Third, exactly how to buckle up the right way. And finally, what your next step should be after an accident.
Let's jump right into part one, the reality of pregnancy trauma. We've got to set the stage with a pretty staggering number, 1 in 12. Out of the roughly 4 million births in the US every year, 1 in 12 pregnancies will involve some form of trauma. In fact, trauma is the leading cause of non-obstetric death for expecting moms. Just let that sink in for a second. It's intense, right? But knowing the risk is exactly how we start mitigating it.
So what's actually causing this? Well, if we look at the data, motor vehicle crashes take the top spot by a mile, making up 48% of these incidents. After that, we've got falls at 25% and assaults at 17%. Since car crashes account for nearly half of all pregnancy-related trauma, that is going to be our main focus today.
All right, moving on to part two, and this is highly misunderstood, the minor injury myth. You know, we usually call a fender bender a minor accident, but during pregnancy, minor is an incredibly deceiving word. There is a terrifying paradox here. 9 out of 10 traumatic injuries in pregnancy are classified as minor. That means no rapid compression of the belly, no pain, no bleeding. But here's the catch. 60 to 70% of fetal losses from trauma are caused by these exact same minor injuries. Devastating things can happen from a bump that felt like absolutely no big deal at the time.
So why is a minor bump so dangerous? It all comes down to physiology, specifically the risk of placental abruption. Think of the uterus like a really stretchy, elastic balloon, but the placenta inside it, that's a solid, inelastic organ. When you're in a car and you suddenly slam on the brakes, experiencing a rapid jolt, the elastic uterus stretches out, but the rigid placenta doesn't. That shearing force can literally tear the placenta right off the uterine wall. Your belly doesn't even have to touch the steering wheel for this to happen. Just that sudden stop is all it takes.
Okay, section 3, how to buckle up safely. Let's take control of this.
Wearing a seatbelt properly reduces the risk of serious injury or worse by up to 84% for both you and your baby. Notice the stark difference between these two placements. The correct way is on the left. On the right, that's the dangerous mistake of placing the lap belt directly over the dome of the belly. If you crash with the belt riding up high like that, the jolt sends massive pressure straight into the uterus, which massively spikes the risk of placental abruption. Let's walk through the perfect fit for a standard 3-point restraint. Step 1. Get that lap belt low and snug across your pelvic bone, totally under your belly. You want your strong bones taking the force, not your soft stomach. Step 2. Pull the shoulder belt across your chest right between your breasts and away from your neck, and please never tuck it under your arm or behind your back. Step 3. Pull it tight to remove all the slack. Oh, and if your standard belt is just too tight, experts say using a regular seatbelt extender is perfectly fine to give you a little breathing room.
But I have to give a massive warning here. Skip those aftermarket seatbelt positioning gadgets. Seriously, you've probably seen them marketed to pregnant women online, but safety experts urgently advise against them. There are absolutely zero safety standards for these things. By changing how the belt fundamentally works in a totally untested way, they can actually put you in a wildly unsafe situation during a crash. Just stick to the standard belt. Now, naturally, this brings up a really common question. I'm pregnant, so should I turn off my airbags? People are understandably terrified that a deploying airbag will hit their belly and hurt the baby.
But the answer from the top safety and medical experts is a resounding absolutely not. Do not turn off your airbags. The medical consensus is crystal clear on this. Combining airbags with a properly worn seatbelt gives you the absolute highest level of protection. The benefits of that airbag deploying vastly outweigh any potential risks.
To make that airbag as safe as possible, you just need to make a couple of quick adjustments as a driver. First, slide your seat back so you've got as much distance as possible between your belly and the steering wheel, while still being able to comfortably reach the pedals, of course. Second, tilt the steering wheel up and away from your stomach. You want it aimed so that if the airbag does deploy, it hits your chest, not your belly.
All right, bringing us to part 4,
Next steps after an accident.
So what if the unthinkable happens? Even if it's just a tiny scraped bumper in a parking lot, here's the absolute most crucial takeaway. Go to your healthcare provider immediately, even if you feel 100% fine. Remember what we said earlier? Placental abruption can happen without you feeling a single thing at first. Invisible trauma is real, and you absolutely need medical clearance to make sure both of you are okay.
If you are past 20 weeks pregnant, the standard medical protocol requires you to undergo a minimum of 4 to 6 hours of continuous fetal monitoring at the hospital. Why so long? Because symptoms of abruption might not show up for hours after the actual injury. If they pick up 6 or more contractions per hour during that window, they'll likely keep you for up to 24 hours of monitoring. And if it was a major collision, expect a blood test to check if the baby's blood has mixed with yours. Knowing this timeline helps you advocate for yourself when you get to the ER.
Look, I know all of this sounds really scary, but the great news is that these protocols actually work. It's so reassuring to see community proof out there, like this expecting mom who shared, "I got into a car accident with airbags deployed and the baby was fine." When you buckle up correctly and get the right medical care, you are giving yourself and your baby the absolute best chance of walking away totally unharmed.
We've covered a ton of ground today, right? From that crazy 1 in 12 statistic to why minor accidents are a major deal, and exactly how to position that seatbelt. So I'll leave you with this question. Knowing that a simple adjustment can reduce your risk by 84%, are you fully prepared to buckle up the right way on your very next drive? Please, share this explainer with anyone you know who is expecting. It is quite literally knowledge that saves lives. Thanks so much for joining me today and stay safe out there.